with devious dungeons, foreboding forests, and the coolest cats. Welcome to the Dark Orb and to our actual play of the Dee Sanction. It's going to be great. We've got a great cast. I'm going to bring them all on in just a second. The Dee Sanction is an alternative history, Elizabethan, covert Enochian intelligence, Suicide Squad mashup. It's really cool. We'll talk all about the product throughout the intro and also at the end. You can get hold of the product at allrolledup.co.uk. It's also available on Drive-Thru RPG. The fancy schmancy limited edition looks like this, but there is also a cheaper version. I don't know if any of the limited editions are still available, and if they are, grab them whilst you can. The other thing I will also explain is that the game we're going to be playing has a slight chance of mild horror. It's a role-playing game that does involve supernatural elements, so just be aware of that. And the GM, who I'm about to bring on, can go into further detail on that. So without further ado, let's bring on our cast for this evening. We have Andy.
Hi there.
Angeli.
Hello.
Stu.
Evening.
Muted. First death. Last but very much not least, Nick.
Good evening.
Thank you everyone for joining. This is going to be so cool. I'm really excited. My copy of the Dee Sanction arrived, I think at the end of last week, beginning of this week. I haven't broken the spine. I dare not. This is just too pretty. So I've been working my way through the PDF in order to create my character. We'll go into what our characters are in a bit. Yep, and that's the other. That's the paperback version, which is really awesome. It's a lovely product. Yeah, it's a really interesting setting, I think. Andy, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
It's set in the Tudor period. It is the period which, in many ways, was the foundation of things we take for granted now. So, the beginnings of science and spying and many other things. This particular game, you are playing agents of John Dee, who is renowned as being a bit of a polymath, but he was also interested in magical things and the supernatural and a load of other more occult leanings. Also, you are representing Sir Francis Walsingham and Sir William Cecil, who are Elizabeth spy masters of the era. So it's a sort of mix between, what's the best way of putting it? A discovery of witches and some sort of Tudor spy film, if there was one. But anyway, so yeah,
I want to see that film.
It's a mix of occult and espionage.
Awesome. It's probably worth us. I'm just going to bring it back in. It's probably worth just going through a couple of things before we delve in properly. We have discussed player safety before coming on to the live stream today, so we're going to run a modified X card in that we have a private chat which are all available to see. We're all able to see that. If anyone, including the DM Andy, is uncomfortable with the way that the stream is going, then just drop a note in the comments, and whomever is the one who's leading that, be it a GM or a player, will, expedite as best they can without any argument. We'll just move on. As I said, there is a slight chance of mild, very mild horror. We're not expecting anything in the way of actual horror as such, body horror, anything like that. But just be aware that it's not necessarily a kid's game. If you enjoy the game, please follow us, like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. We're on Twitter and Facebook and all of that. We are all British, and I can think of at least one person in this stream who may well swear at some point. Sorry. We'll do our best, obviously, but please be aware of that. I know I say that every time, but it's important to acknowledge it. And finally, the product is available at allrolledup.co.uk, and at Drive-Thru RPG. It was Kickstarter, and it was hugely successful. The author, Paul Baldowski, is just an incredible talent, a really nice guy. they're also, I believe, at Dee Sanction on Twitter. And yeah, just check it out. It's really, really cool. I think that's probably everything. Should we?
No, good night then.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Great
Yeah.
game, guys. Bye.
That's 5 minutes of quality fun.
We'll have
Longest
a
in my
break.
makeup.
Absolutely. I don't know why you bothered, to be honest with you. We'll have a break, maybe like sort of 90 minutes in for a couple of minutes. And at the end, we'll do an outro, but we'll do 2 outros effectively. We'll do an outro after the scene finishes, and then we'll just hang back for a couple of minutes, hopefully, and just discuss what we thought and reflect on it before we actually finish the stream properly. So you get the chance to kind of catch us debriefing, as they say. So without further ado, let's introduce our characters. I shall go first because I can. I'm playing Henry Branch, and I will change my name on the screen in a second. Henry is an artist. Maybe not an artist of original work, but he's very proud of the work he does do. He's fairly skilled in counterfeits and quite good at deception. And yeah, a little bit of sleight of hand here and there. He's a little bit of a thief, but he doesn't consider himself a pickpocket, let's put it that way. But he can probably do a trick or two with a coin. So that's Henry Branch, and he's from Worcester. Angeli, who are you playing?
Hey, everyone. I'm Angeli. I'll introduce who I am as well, if that's okay.
That's a good idea.
Hey. Hey, I'm Angeli. Otherwise
Angeli,
otherwise known as Geek Girl Bookworm online everywhere. You can follow me in a link that hopefully will appear in a chat somewhere.
We'll
or just search Geek Girl
well.
Bookworm and like everything is on there. Tonight I'll be playing Beatrice Cole. She's I want to say a lady of the streets, but that makes me sound like one of them prostitutes. I live in the shadows, down in the streets. I'm pretty smart for someone who's never had an education. And I might know a little bit of the occult. Maybe there's a little bit of magics in me as well. Or maybe I'm lying. You don't know. Yeah, that's me.
Brilliant.
I'm going to have a very bad, I say bad London accent for the whole thing, apart from the fact that I'm from London. So it should just be my accent, but I'm going to put it on rather.
Cool. Stuart, do you want to do an introduction of who you are and how people can find you and what you're playing?
Sure, I am Stuart. You can find me on Twitter at Megatron_46, and you can listen to me GM and be a cast member in the Forging Farrier podcast. Currently, I'm running Tyranny of Dragons for them, as well as planning and hopefully doing some stuff for the original world of Farrier. I am playing Thomas Malthouse, former Clerk of the Temple from York. May have got involved in a little bit of a dodgy paraphernalia, possibly espousing the virtues of some older gods than the ones we're used to worshipping, and I might have had my wrist slapped with a manacle or two. Thug is maybe too strong a word, but I'm pretty good with my fists. I like a drink, and I'm good with my mouth. I quite like just chatting to people, but yeah, maybe me chatting led me down a few dodgy paths and maybe got me involved with some people who think that that the church is maybe built on lies, and that's been my downfall. But yeah, got busted.
You got busted.
Aye, I'm not sure that's technically Elizabethan, but I'm going to pretend it is.
That's something that I'm just going to point out. We are playing an alternative history game. This is our reality, right? So I don't want any of you historical pedants going on about the fact that we got some tiny little thing wrong.
However, I have filled the private chat with all of the Elizabethan curses and oaths and swears that I could find. So,
Angeli, I think you just need to read them all out as one long curse at some point.
just at one point, yep.
You will earn 1 Phil XP You can fit that in at some point when it's relevant. This is some kind of
challenge
out as a
accepted.
Nick, would you like to introduce yourself and who you're playing?
Hi, I'm Nick. I played role-playing games an awful lot a very long time ago. Then I had a very long gap indeed, and through our local bookshop ended up starting again along with people like our esteemed host. Therefore, I have absolutely no role-playing or other gaming presence on the internet whatsoever, so you will not be getting a link from me. One's character is Edward Whiteviper. I am a courtier from Greenwich, near the Riverside Royal Palace. Being honest, one wasn't really a very successful courtier, although along the way I did go on a diplomatic mission to Spain. It was absolute catastrophe, but I did pick up some diplomatic skills on the way. I have a very deep interest in ciphers and occult signs and sigils. And unfortunately, I made the rather egregious error of being caught in possession of the Stenographica, a universally condemned book by Johannes Trimethius. This was compounded by the fact that it happened to have been purloined from Dee's personal library. As you can imagine, the conversation that followed after me being caught in possession of the book was not a pleasant one. However, he was actually quite decent about it in the end, and I've ended up doing the odd commission for him, occasionally deciphering occult writings.
But of course, you'd never admit that to anyone.
Of course. Completely sub rosa.
Cool. Thank you very much. We are currently live, so if you're watching live and you want to contribute, please, put stuff in the comments. We have a whole load of stuff in the show notes below, and anything that we talk about that we think is going to be worthwhile, we'll throw in the notes for those people who are watching this after the fact. I think now's a good time for us to begin our descent into this covert underworld.
Indeed.
And let's begin.
Okay, so London, September 1566. The Queen has been on the throne for a couple of years. It's the early days of the Elizabethan period, so at the moment, London is relatively calm. The only thing of note is that over the summer, the so-called Chelmsford witches were hung, which has caused a little bit of a sort of witch craze in London, but nothing serious. There's only been one execution. It's not like there's been, regular burnings of witches at the stake or anything like that. St. Paul's is still damaged. The great cathedral was hit by lightning a few years ago. No one's bothered rebuilding it yet. It's still missing a tower. And other than that, it's been a bit of a hot, dry summer, really. Now, you're all in London going around your business. You're separated at the start of the scenario. And each of you is contacted by this chap, who is Mr. Garland. You know Mr. Garland. You've met him before. He's Dee's primarily, he's Dee's middleman, for want of a better word. He comes to you when Dee wants something and leaves just as mysteriously. Mr. Garland rarely speaks, although it's said that he sings with the voice of an angel, although you've never heard that either. But he normally comes up to you, gives you a small piece of parchment, and then as soon as you're distracted or your back is turned, he simply seems to disappear. Mr. Garland is, if nothing, polite, even though he doesn't speak, and will calmly wait for you to accept the parchment off him. He doesn't try and force it on you or anything like that. So, on this particular day, Mr. Garland contacts you all and provides you with a small piece of parchment, which I shall present to you now. And let's just make that a bit bigger for the harder seeing, and I will also read it out as well. So, there will be a proper English translation of this, so don't panic. Okay. Wiley and Worksome Warden. Whence from Whitehall, wherein a wondrous and wise Waldegrave wields worldly warrants, W has written to me, wanting worthies for withheld works. While our watchful eye has looked elsewhere, word would have it that a wretched riverling has woven a web of wickedness throughout the wheel. With wit and without wanion, wakely walk widdershins through the winding wen, and where this wart has taken root, welk it loose and let it wither and waste. Wreak wrath upon this wrongdoer within your wherewithal. D. Would you like a proper English translation of that? I think you probably do. So, cunning and industrious guardian. From Whitehall, where our wonderful and wise Queen rules with authority, Walsingham has written to me, wanting men he can trust for secret activities. I think he means women as well, Julie, but just to be clear. While we have been distracted elsewhere, fate would have it that an evil person has set in motion a plan throughout the state. With intellect and without bad luck, walk vigilantly around the winding, congested city streets, and where this weed has taken root, twist it loose and let it rot. Wreak havoc upon this criminal to the best of your abilities. On the back, in small, tiny writing, is written, the grassgate at dusk. So, as you turn, distracted by some sound in the street or some noise in your house, Mr. Garland disappears, leaving you with the parchment. You have about an hour till dusk. And thus, the story begins.
Did you say that we are actually all together currently?
No, I said you were separated to
We are
start
still
with.
separated, okay.
Do I know where Grassgate is?
Grassgate is a gate leading into Whitehall. It's one of the servants' gates. It's like a tiny little side gate.
Okay. I think I'll assemble my usual assortment of accoutrement and make my way there.
So shall we take it that you all meet at Grassgate a little before dusk?
Indeed.
Okay.
Yep.
So the Grassgate is a small archway, literally a couple of feet wide. Little black gate in front of it. It's called the Grassgate because it literally opens on a small green. There's no one here. It's just you four arriving roughly the same time. There's not even a guard at the gate because it's only used by servants now and then, and most of the time it's shut. It's about, I don't know, half an hour to dusk, something along those lines. It's a nice, pleasant September day. And the four of you meet outside the gate and see each other arrive. And at this point, you may wish to describe yourselves to each other. And also, I would add one other point. At this point in the scenario, in the Dee Sanction, you can choose a thing called tradecraft, which is a group ability. Normally, it's a resource or asset which is spent through the scenario as a group asset. I know you have very little good to go on at the moment, but you may wish to choose something appropriate as tradecraft now. There are 6 possibilities. In fact, it's probably easier if I find them on the PDF. So, your options are, if I can get this to move, which I can't. Okay, your options are, very quickly, access, kit, system, vigilance, magic, and conspiracy. Access is access to people. Conspiracy is an understanding of power play within the Elizabethan court and elsewhere. Kit is an item of some kind, may come in useful. Magic is some sort of occult resource of some kind. System is your ability to sidestep the law and accelerate bureaucracy in general. And vigilance is, well, it can be anything from a well-timed revelation to something that you observe that you perhaps wouldn't have seen otherwise. These are very vague and generic definitions because they come into play at a particular point when you feel as a group you want to use it. So choose a tradecraft wisely, try and all be in agreement on it, and we'll move forward after that.
I'm thinking, listening to those, if we've got to try and find out, if we've got to find out where this this evil doing is going on, I'm thinking either vigilance, if we're actually going to try and, because you've got to try and find stuff, or have access to people. Once we find things, that would be my I can't think of the word. What is it?
Vote.
Oh, thank you. Yes, my brain's just lost it there. Yeah, that would be either of those two is where I think it may be leaning, but obviously.
Oh, you think this is democracy, do you?
Yeah.
Confirm this is democracy. We'll get what's given to us. I mean, Henry's pretty used to just sort of blending in and doing what feels right at the time. So, as a player, I don't have a strong opinion.
Okay. Any other potential ideas for what you want? Or are you going to go with what Thomas recommends?
I would say either vigilance to spot something out of the ordinary, or perhaps conspiracy might enable us to identify nefarious goings on at court.
Yeah, I would vote for vigilance, I think.
So we have 3 for vigilance.
Sounds good to
I
me.
think it's vigilance then, by the sounds of it. Okay, so your tradecraft is vigilance for this particular scenario. Okay, all right. So, again, you may describe yourselves to each other and get to know each other. You've probably met briefly before on the service of Dee in passing, but this is probably the first time you've actually been face to face together. So, it might be worth introducing yourselves to each other.
Okay.
Evening, everybody. Henry, isn't it?
It's Henry, right?
Aye. Mistress, Madam Cole. I can't quite. I can't quite remember the honorific, but
You can call me Beatrice.
right you are, Beatrice, and my Lord White Viper. It's Thomas. Thomas Malthouse again, if for those you can't remember. And as you look at Thomas, he's not particularly tall, man. He's maybe 5'7", 5'8", not particularly tall, but he's quite wide. Okay, he's got quite lank blonde hair, quite a thick beard, but yeah, not tall, but wide, not particularly muscular, but like solid. Okay. Quite a solid bloke. Obviously not mentally, but quite physically dense. If you were to sum him up, dense is quite a good word for him. And he's got
that's been applied to me personally, both as physically and mentally. To be honest with you.
And he's got like on his which he's kind of uses. It's calling it a walking stick would be quite grand, but essentially it's a walking stick come cudgel, which he kind of like has as an affectation that he kind of like uses as a stick. But if you look at it closely, it's quite weighted at one end. That would be quite a nasty smack on someone.
Cool.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Anyone else want to describe themselves at this point, or?
Yeah, I can. So Beatrice is a short lady in her late 30s, so pretty old by Elizabethan standards.
Thanks.
Old, very old.
Thanks, Angeli.
No, that's fine. She wears dark clothes that are not clean, but not super grubby. But they are nothing of interest. Everything about her is designed to allow her to sort of blend into the background, sneak into the shadows. And she does wear a thick black cloak that covers her hair and face as she moves about. You do notice that her shoes are very, very good boots, designed for a lot of walking, and obviously that's where she puts her money, is into these very nice boots that don't seem to make much of a sound when she walks on the cobbles of the London streets.
So I get the impression that Beatrice is the sort of person who, if you actually struck up a conversation with her, by the time you kind of walked off afterwards, you've probably totally forgotten all about her.
Exactly.
Cool.
Kind of. Apart from a bloody awful accent. Went a little bit Australian there. I don't know how I did that.
Bloody awful accent.
Oh, blimey.
That's mine. Well, all right. So Henry's he's quite slightly built. He's in his I would say mid to late 30s also. He's wearing quite a simple linen shirt. It's quite nice. Like he probably maybe he traded it. He might not necessarily have the money to go and buy fancy clothes, but he certainly knows how to get the right stuff by producing quality art that looks a lot like other people's quality art. But yeah, like a beige shirt of some description and breeches. So you look carefully, you can probably see flecks of paint on his left arm, mostly around the sleeve, where obviously he's been holding his palette when he's been painting. Although painting is not necessarily all he does, and he might occasionally have some other things that might be considered artistic that maybe are not as authentic as they first look. But yeah, he does all right for himself. But he's incredibly calm given the situation. He's just going along with it and seeing what happens, really. Nick.
Okay.
Edward is clearly minor aristocracy. He's well dressed, although not ostentatiously so. He has a small but fashionable ruff. His clothing is mostly dark, but it's trimmed with some rather attractive white detail around the lapels and stripes down his breeches. He's armed with a courtly short sword. He doesn't look as if he's sort of particularly large or particularly well muscled. He has a very penetrating gaze, and on his fingers you can see a few ink stains, as of a man who spends an awful lot of time looking at obscure documents.
Okay. Well, while you motley crew taking each other's form and shape, as it were, the grass gate, opens. A young lady, maybe in her early 20s, wearing a shawl and a bonnet, comes through the gate and quickly hurries away as the light level falls around you. She risks a quick look back at the four of you as she scuttles off, heading towards the river. The gate closes and creaks slowly behind her.
I guess we follow.
You can follow if you wish.
I guess from a I'm going to keep to the shadows and scuttle along.
Early dusk, early twilight. I mean, there are shadows.
I can find a shadow.
You can find shadows anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. If I'm quick enough before as Beatrice is kind of like shifting down the road after this girl, I'm going to see if I can nip over to the grass gate just before it shuts and stick my head around the corner to see if I can see anything happening inside the courtyard. Is there anything going on inside?
Well, it's very easy to get to the gate before it shuts because it takes some time to shut, and the courtyard inside is empty of people. There's no one around.
Okay, all right. I'm going to duck back out then.
Okay.
Does that look like it would be a gate that locks?
It's probably got a latch on the inside that would lock it. It's not a lockable gate by key, as it were.
Yeah.
It just shuts.
So before Thomas manages to let that gate shut, and once it's kind of got it slightly ajar, I say, wait a minute. See if we can find like a rock or something.
Oh, good thinking, mate. Good
You
good
can probably
thinking.
find a small stone on the roadside or on the
Yeah,
grass.
so I just I
Small stone.
Yeah,
no,
tiny stone.
no, that's a
We can keep it open with gravel.
good idea, Henry. And
Yeah,
so I just grab a rock and just jam it in. So the gate looks mostly shut. So at a casual
It's going
glance,
to
it
be
doesn't look
fairly obvious it's open if you look at it closely. But yes, okay, that's
okay.
fine.
All right.
All right. Meanwhile, the young lady has headed off south to the river. To follow this path south, you will eventually end up at the jetty where the wherries, the river cabs, if you like, of the era, normally dock and arrive at Whitehall, or at least one place where they do. And she appears to be heading that way. Again, she keeps nervously looking behind her. She may or may not notice Beatrice, who's managed to find shadows in the most unlikely of places. But the rest of you who aren't concealing yourselves behind the pea gravel on the road can see quite merrily that she is she's taking you in and looking in your general direction. She eventually reaches the side of the river, and there are wherrymen already there, and she briefly speaks to one and starts to get into the back of a boat.
What does this lady look like? Like attire wise, is she well off to do?
She's well dressed, but she's probably a servant.
Okay.
Her clothes are clean, but they're not particularly fine. She probably is something around the level of a maid or something like that, but probably not in the presence of royalty or whatever. More sort of side building somewhere, perhaps.
Okay.
Okay, she gets into the boat. You see the wherryman start going with the current, but is obviously heading across the river to the southern side. And she would be at least 30, 40 yards out across the Thames by the time you get to the wherry post itself.
Is there any other way across, or is this the only?
No one goes across the Thames unless it's by boat.
I thought so, but you know, I just thought I'd check.
No,
Don't want to swim?
well, there is London Bridge, but that's the best part of a mile away and not much use.
Right. I mean, maybe we were supposed to wait for her to go and then go in. You know, got any better ideas?
Presumably there are more wherrymen with their boats there, so
There are.
I asked the wherryman to follow the boat that has just left. I'd give him a coin.
With us in it?
Well,
All right.
Do you mean follow her, or do you? Sorry, Henry. Did you mean we should probably go back to the gate?
Well, that's what I was thinking. Maybe the whole point is they're waiting for the house to be unoccupied, or whatever is behind that. I don't know.
But you're getting into the boat, Nick. Edward, even.
Because the grassgate is the servants' entrance to Whitehall, correct?
It's one of many, yeah.
One of many.
It could be asking.
There are grander entrances.
Seems a bit convoluted, but yeah, we could just follow her, I suppose.
But if she's just going home,
that's right. Yeah, then we'll look a little bit dodgy.
We're just. But I mean, she also was a bit suspicious, kept looking at us.
Well, we were like a bunch of weird people following her after she left work.
I mean, that is true. A young lady would often be weary of three blokes. That's the Elizabethan term for you.
It's the initial alternative history.
Three blokes in a vague shadow, I think is the phrase here.
Yeah, those shadows. Someone, you know, hard to trust them.
Three blokes, but four shadows. How bizarre.
Three blokes and a shadow walk up to the Thames.
But I just think she just when she came out of that gate, she looked scared. She looked nervous.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, I'm not the most like people, but like if I was leaving work and then I opened the gate to go home and then there was like four strangers right on the other side, I think I'd be a little bit worried.
That is true. We are We are a little bit of a motley crew.
Well, I am. I don't know about you.
I keep picking up your accent.
You just need to channel home, Angeli. Channel home. I spent years in Norwich. I'm just modifying that. It's fine.
So while you two are debating the merits of going one way or the other,
Debating accents.
debating accents even, yeah.
Yeah, one is in the wherry, seeing if any of my colleagues are going to join me, and then
are you joining
gonna
Edward
follow
or
up.
are you going back? Let's make it a either or.
Let's split the party.
I'm going to say that I'm going to flip a coin, and I will let the GM flip a coin or something along those
Oh,
lines.
you would ask that.
So I can do it here. I have a coin here,
Okay.
and
I call heads.
it's tails. What does that mean?
I don't know.
You haven't thought that far, have you? I have. I'm getting in the boat.
Right.
Let's go.
Okay.
Shrug.
Yeah, I think we've committed to this course of action, and as Whitehall burns behind us,
The end.
See this guy, weird blue-faced guy, raise a load of dead people. No, wrong scenario. Anyway, okay, so the boat goes across the Thames. You follow the boat. She docks on the other side of the Thames, some way down, probably somewhere between Mortlake and sort of Battersea area in modern parlance, but it would be that sort of area. Now, Mortlake, of course, is where Dee lives, so you know that reasonably well. But the other areas south of the river, because it's outside of the city of London proper, it's unpoliced and unregulated, so you may or may not be familiar depending on your background. But basically, south of the river is bad. Anyway, she gets off on a small jetty near a couple of outbuildings and so on, and then quickly sets off on a path to what appears to be some buildings set back from the river. You vaguely recognise them. There's some convent or something you seem to remember, but you don't really know much about it.
but it doesn't look like residential buildings. It doesn't look like she's going to.
No, these are these are just outbuildings and a set of buildings set further back. Honestly, you've not been here very often, or you've been past it maybe. It's been pointed out to you, but you don't know much about it. You can't even recall the name of the place. But she is now on her own, walking up a path towards the building set back from the Thames itself.
I think we follow. I think we head off after her. I think maybe
seems discreetly.
Yeah, I think I think maybe Beatrice take the lead, and maybe if we can. All right, let's do it in character. Maybe we should just break ourselves up a little bit, walk it as a group, but maybe quite noticeable. Can we, Beatrice, if you're happy to take point and lead up and trailer, and we can maybe spread ourselves out a bit and then see where she goes, but be maybe slightly less obvious than we are.
What about good Sir White Viper? Are you happy to skulk, or are you going to proudly display yourself on the path?
I will amble casually, appearing to go nowhere in particular.
Okay.
Well, look, I'm not being funny, but I reckon that me and Malthouse, we could probably just like play off as a couple of mates. You know, we're just going for a wander, and old White Viper there. I mean, you know, he is obviously not with us. He looks well different.
Very obviously. Okay. All right. Well, to cut a long story short, after a short walk, she ducks between a sort of gap in a wall next to one of the buildings, and then it starts to come back to you where this place is. This is the convent of St. Barnabas the Younger, which you've heard of before, but it's been abandoned for 20 years or more since the dissolution. You vaguely remember it being some sort of hospital or hospice. It was a place for caring for the sick and things of that sort. Other than that, you don't really remember much about it. It's not really been worthy of discussion. But you recognise at least that much now. You're closer. It's abandoned as far as you know. No one's been here since the nuns were kicked out by Henry VIII 20 years or so ago. So, as far as you're aware, it's just buildings fallen into disuse.
But that's where she's sort of going into.
She's tucked in between the wall at the back, yeah. So she's literally gone into the backyard of the place, if you like. It's hard to tell because there's a wall all the way around it.
I give myself the highest of 5s. Yes, we went the right way.
The referee breathes a sigh of relief that he didn't have to conjure up Whitehall on the drop of a hat. Anyway.
Okay. I'm going to like, having seen this, I'm going to go back to the rest of the crew and sort of just explain what I've seen and what the place is.
Okay. Then you describe it to the rest of them who heard me anyway.
Yeah, so I'm not going to do it. Yeah. But
please don't.
I know it's some
anyway.
sort of convent, not there anymore. Nuns gone, dissolution and all that. She's, she's in there though. There ain't no one living there. Suspicious.
Aye, sounds it. I think the aye.
Okay.
Well done, my Lord White Viper. That was the right call. But no, so are we gonna? Is there any way in? Is there Beatrice? Did you see any particular routes in anything which is a little less obvious than a front door?
She went through this sort of gap in the wall that goes into like the back area, so we could follow her there, or we can look around for a different way in case there's some sort of ambush. I don't know why there would be an ambush, but yeah, I'm a suspicious type.
Are we doing it?
What, the ambush?
Aye.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
I'm going northern now. Aye, the ambush. Right, lad.
We're all
The
over the
roving
place.
accent of Henry Brown. Right.
At least we're doing English accents. If we were doing accents from another country, then we'd be being lynched right now.
Yeah.
We might still get lynched, to be fair.
I dread the Cornish moment. Anyway, moving on. So, right, yeah, okay. So from where you are, you can see there is a wall with a gap in it that she's gone through. There is a path leading around the outskirts of the wall, which you can follow around if you so wish. Sorry, I seem to be about to sneeze. So, yeah, you can follow the path round, or you can try and go through the hole in the wall that she found.
I think the plants around here, obviously, it's coming up to spring, isn't it?
It's September.
Trying to help you out, Andy.
Okay, I say we go through that hole that she went through.
Okay.
Are we,
I reckon so.
do we reckon Malthus is going to fit through there?
You're all fit through, yeah.
What's your
Quite
tongue,
happily.
Henry?
So if you just go in sideways, you'll be fine, right?
I can certainly go
just
in.
leave,
Roll you in.
Just leave a malthouse-shaped hole in the wall.
Well, he's wider than he is tall, so we'll just roll him over, roll him through.
There's a slogan in that somewhere. He's wider than his tall. Anyway. All
Yeah,
right.
we'll go through.
Yeah, we go through.
I would like to take out my large scissors as I go through,
Oh,
just in
loads of
case.
scissors.
Your large scissors, indeed.
I've got
you may.
large scissors, good boots, and a glass eye.
Okay, Phil, would you like to increase? There we go. Right, you see what appears to be a small cemetery behind the convent.
There's squares on the ground.
Yes, it is a bit weird that the lawn has been cut into nice squares. As you can see, there's a rather large tomb that has wild roses growing around it out here. By the way, you've come in through the gap up here. I don't know if you can see my mouse moving around, but there you are, up this bit here. And there are some stone, these sort of old style raised grave, coffin, mausoleum things here, and a cart at the other side, and a gate which is open. The young lady in question has walked across here and is now standing in between the two gates, looking outwards from the cemetery. And she seems to be just waiting, really. She hasn't seen you from where she's standing now.
I might like to indicate to everyone to sort of stay in, like, behind the tombstone, maybe we want to be like watching. It looks like she's either looking out for someone or she's waiting for someone. It might be good for us to pay attention to who that is whilst we have the chance.
Watchful waiting.
So you're all standing over here, sort of hidden in the shrubbery, as it were.
Yeah.
Waiting and watching. Is that right?
Whilst we're waiting, my area of expertise, or Thomas's area of the expertise, is the de necromancia, which is the philosophy and practice upon the invocation of the dead and entities facing the spirit realm. Nice. So as we're waiting, as we happen to be in this, because the fact that we've come to a cemetery, I'm just gonna, I don't know how this would work. I'm just gonna or the way Thomas does it, the way Thomas does it, if he's looking at, and I have the ability of mediumship. So just, I don't know how that plays into it or not, but I'm just gonna just as we're waiting, as the others are watching, I'm just gonna like tune out, like disengage my mind, and I just kind of like sit and just kind of like reach out feelers. Can I sense anything?
I will have you make a supernatural challenge for that.
Oh, I got clairsentience as well, so I can get that like.
All right, well, we'll try you both.
All right, let's see.
For this trick, you need the die associated with your supernatural score, so D60, D4, whatever.
Got me a D6.
And you need to roll anything but a 1 or a 2. That's a standard check in this game, is rolling anything but a 1 or a 2 on the appropriate die.
I rolled a 3.
I rolled a 1, so I got nothing.
Well, you feel a bit cold, but that could just be evening, really.
Okay, all right.
However, and Julie, you notice, or Beatrice, sorry, you notice that it's an odd thing, because graveyards always feel a bit weird. They're just places of the dead. It's always slightly unsettling. But despite the fact it's evening and it's chilly and there's a vague breeze down by the river and so on and so forth, it feels very still and quiet and settled is probably the best word to describe it inside the walls of the cemetery itself. It's an unearthly sort of stillness to everything. Okay.
I don't say anything, but I sort of give a little shiver of uncomfortableness.
Okay.
And,
after a few moments, while you tune out or tune in, as you may want to look at it, you hear the slow approach of a horse towards the gate. A man dressed in rather well-to-do finery, with a hooded cloak, dismounts from a horse, which he ties by the reins to the gate, and immediately goes over to the young lady, and they hold discourse for several moments, intimately. They're obviously known to each other. They're obviously close, you would think. And at this point, you can all make an intellectual challenge.
Shit. I mean,
Well, isn't that meant to be one of the Tudor swear words?
oh yeah, I say to my dice, "May thou suffer fallow fields."
Nice. I got a 3 for that one.
I got
That will
5.
do.
Over 4.
As long as one of you pass, that's all I need. You notice that she passes something small, very small, sort of palm-sized or smaller, to the gentleman, who quickly tucks it within his cloak. He then puts his arm around her and holds her for a second, and then you see her jerk suddenly and slowly slide out of his grasp as it reveals a blood-covered knife, and he slides away.
What a scoundrel.
You bastard.
He didn't even have time to cry out. He slides slowly to the ground. He quickly and deftly, before you can do anything else for the moment, he quickly and deftly wipes the blade on the hem of her skirt. And then, strangely, he turns into the cemetery to where these graves are at the side here, nods briefly to the graves, and then begins to go towards his horse.
Oh, bastard. Right.
Shall we do him?
I think we have to, really.
Right.
I'm
I'll
going
take the left side.
Do we just, and Andy, before we charge out, can I do it? Does she look like she's like been not instantly killed, but do we think does she look pretty dead? Is there any way that we can I make a guess that she might be savable?
You don't think she's going to be instantly dead, but she's not going to be alive for long.
Right.
I'm gonna rush to her then, because I know I'm not particularly good in a fight.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll sorry.
I was going to say I'm also not good in a fight, but if I see that other people are, I'm just going to cause him to turn around and sort of stop what he's doing in the hope that he won't be ready for an attack by shouting, "Beshrew thee! Fire upon thee! A pox upon thee! Devil take thee! A plague upon thee! Moran seize thee! Hang thee!" And, yeah.
And scene.
And that's
So,
some of my spares
After
out the
about
way.
8 combat rounds of Beatrice shouting.
Okay, well, I'm going to.
No, at this point we will do initiative. So, Phil, that coin you had, coincidentally, I need you to throw it and tell me what you get. What's the coin?
Okay. How do I determine the value of it?
Oh, you just tell me.
Okay, well, it's tails.
Okay, you go second then.
Okay.
Right, that's as a group, by the way. So his initiative is first, but Beatrice has forewarned him by shouting at him. So,
I was pretty mad.
someone take a D8 and roll it and tell me if you get a 1 or a 2. And this time you do want a 1 or a 2.
Okay, who's gonna do that?
Seeing as I did the shouting,
I've rolled a 2.
Very well.
Oh, you rolled
There
So
you
you
go.
rolled a 2.
Nice, excellent.
Good going.
Okay. You notice him leap to get onto his horse quickly, but he slips and his foot does not go into the stirrup. So he's now sort of doing the comedy thing of trying to get back up on his horse. That gives you a round or two while he tries to remount his horse before he can ride off. Now, 1 round of that will be spent literally running across this area here.
Okay.
The other round will be at the gate. So, who's closing, who's standing, and what are you doing? Let's go through it. Phil, I know you're going to the girl that's on the ground. What are the rest of you doing?
I will charge him and try and I'm not quite sure how the abilities work, but I've got grappling as one of my abilities, so I'm going to charge him and just try and wrap my arms around him and just pin him. I'm going to try and rush and disable him, basically.
Okay, so when you
That's
get
my
there,
plan.
that will be a physical challenge, and we'll roll
Yep.
that in a moment. Edward White Viper, what are you doing? You're muted.
I'm going to run over there, draw my short sword, and try to hold it to his throat.
Okay. Right. You run across. So, on the by the gate as you close, his action this round will be to try and mount again. So if someone else would like to roll a d8 again for me.
One of my favours is baffle, which is to mystify, annoy, confuse, and distract.
You can try that.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Annoy
I'll
them.
explain favours and why they're good and bad in a moment. But in the meantime, did someone roll a d8?
Hang on, there we go. Ooh, get in. A 1.
Excellent. He's still trying to mount his horse. Okay. You're going to try and grapple him. You're trying with your sword. You're running to the girl. You're trying to baffle, I assume.
Yes.
Right. Sorry, I was looking at all 4 of you there, and of course you don't know which one I'm looking at because you're not actually sitting across me from a table, across a table. So that was all pointless, and I do apologise. Right. Dear me. It's a long day. Long week. Right. Okay. So let's start with the baffling first because that happens near enough instantly. So for that, I will need a supernatural challenge from you.
Okay.
This will be stepped down. So your normal die, whatever that is.
So instead of a D8, I use a D6.
Correct.
3 again.
Excellent. Okay. He's obviously going to be looking at the stirrups and the reins and the saddle and just going. And for a moment, he hesitates, which is long enough for the other two gentlemen to close. So we'll do your grappling and then your sword, which again is me pointing at you and you're not looking at me, so never mind. Right, your grappling, first of all.
Okay. Oh, you beauty, a 6.
Excellent. You neatly get your arms firmly round him. So now, Thomas is between you and the gentleman. You can try and hit him with your sword if you wish.
I suppose it'd be too late to change to grab the reins of the horse, so that if he does manage to get on it, I can try and
Well,
control
you
it.
have the sword in one hand. I'll let you grab the reins with the other hand. You can just make a physical challenge on that. Straight physical challenge.
And that was an epic fail through a 1.
Okay, well, you manage to miss the reins and grab the mane of the horse. So you're now holding the hair at the back of the horse's head, as it were. And you have a reasonably firm grip on that, but that's not what you were going for. And finally, Phil, Henry, even, you are looking at the girl on the ground.
Hold in there. Hold in there. What's your name?
You think she says Alice, but her voice is very faint.
Just trying to think. I'm presuming. Well, I'd like to look and see where the wound is. So let's put it that way. I presume
It's close to her heart.
Okay. It's quite clear, I would presume, that she's not going to make it.
No.
Alice.
She's
At this
trying
point,
to say
I'm
something to you. She's definitely trying to form words, but obviously there's a slight issue with speaking at the moment.
Mhm.
But she's desperately trying to say something to you.
I'll get my ear down to her. So, come on, say it again. I can't hear you.
Well, you can't quite make it out. It sounds something like the keepsake is not for him.
Keepsake. He takes something from you.
She just tries to nod briefly. Well, preach you there for a minute. Let's get back to the grappling by the horse. And Edward White Viper, the horse whisperer here, who now has the horse by the mane firmly, which is probably the worst place to grab a horse. Probably trying to grab the hoof. So you firmly have a grip on the back of the horse's mane. Now, the horse is a rather gentle horse, but still doesn't like being roughly manhandled by the mane, and is going to shake its head quite firmly. So I will have you make a physical challenge, please. And let's see if you can roll anything but a 1 or 2.
And on this occasion, I've managed to roll a 4.
Excellent. You still have the mane, but the horse is shaking its head more now. Meanwhile, Thomas, you have your arms pinned round this fellow, this ruffian. He's going to try and break that grip. So I'll have you make a physical challenge to hold on. Out of curiosity, what is your physical? You're muted, by the way.
Thank you. My physical is 6.
Right. Okay.
So
D6.
that was a 3.
That's good enough. You're still holding on to him. Okay. And Beatrice.
Beatrice would like to attempt to kick him in the back of the knees.
Well, Thomas is in
Because
your
I ain't
way.
got no weapons.
You can. I thought you had a pair of scissors.
I've got a pair of scissors, yeah, but I don't want to get that close in.
Well, you probably
not
took
really
your
a
time
stabber.
closing because you don't want to run with scissors after all.
No, that was one of the rules that we were told.
Yeah, it was one of the
not-
rules. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can try and kick him in the back of the legs. You're just as easily likely to get Thomas because they are struggling at the minute.
Oh. What's the word I can use instead of bugger?
I think I think that's probably allowable in Tudor times.
You just need to get the accent right. That's all.
Oh,
Yeah.
bugger.
Yeah, that will do. Okay.
Right, okay, I don't know what I'll do then.
All right. So I'll have you stand there confused for a moment while this plays out. Right. The next round. Phil. Alice on the ground. Her voice is very quiet now, and with all the noise and kerfuffle right next to you, it's getting quite hard to hear what she's saying. She says something.
Go on.
It's almost indistinct. You'll have to make an intellectual challenge to hear it.
I can do that. Is there any modification on that, or just straight?
No, just a straight roll.
Well, that was a 2.
Something like, "Fool, confess the Grail our wrong." You can't. I don't know. It could have been that. Sounds likely. You're not sure.
Hour wrong.
Okay. We'll go to Thomas next because you're most likely to be able to do something, and we'll deal with the horse in a moment.
Right.
So, Thomas.
I've got him round and I'm gripping him tight, and I say, "Right, you feckless puke stocking. If you don't stop struggling, I'm going to break every fucking bone in your body." And
Okay.
I give him a gentle headbutt.
Well, that's coincidental because he's trying to headbutt you backwards like that. So we'll have a physical roll for that.
That's a 4.
That's a 4. Okay. Well, your headbutt forwards is stronger than his headbutt backwards. So he's slightly stunned by that a little bit. Maybe he wasn't quite expecting you to go forwards at the same time. Who knows? In any case, you still got him, but he's definitely still resisting.
Somebody come and stab him.
That's not what
meanwhile,
Fine, I'll go and stab him.
Meanwhile, Lord Edward White Viper of this parish, you are still holding on to the mane of this horse. You can make another physical challenge to keep holding the mane, or you can just let go. It's up to you.
How far onto the horse is this varlet?
Well, he's standing. He had his hands on the side of the saddle trying to mount, and then he got a little bit confused over what the saddle was for some bizarre reason. But he still has his hands pretty much on the sides of the horse. So he's in touching range.
So if I let the horse go, he's not actually holding on to anything on the horse.
Well, he might have a chance of grabbing the saddle, but it's going to be slim, really.
Okay, in that case, I shall let go of the mane and give the horse a shrewd slap on the side of the neck to encourage it to run off.
Okay. Okay. You can do that fairly easily. You can just let go and slap it. That's fine. The horse whinnies and then starts moving fairly quickly away from the scene of the gate and everywhere else. Beatrice, would you like to make a physical challenge, please? And you're muted. You're still muted.
I think this is the physical challenge.
Yeah. I lost my dice now as well.
I've got
just
some loaded
wondering
dice. You can borrow them if you like.
Right. Okay, I'm ready. I'm 4
Right.
foot nothing. I've got a D4.
Well, anything but a 1 or a 2.
I've got a 4.
Oh, well, there you go. Well done. I was being a little cruel. The horse neatly goes past you without any incident. Okay. Right. I think that covers the 3 of you, so it's back to Phil again. I'm afraid Alice isn't going to be speaking anymore. Her eyes roll and her eyelids slightly close, and she's no longer breathing.
I'm probably quite upset at this point. I'm going to muster my emotional energy, if you like, and channel it. I don't know if I'll have time to get up, walk over, and then interact with people on the other side of that gate, but I'm certainly going in that direction.
Okay. Right. Well, on the other side of the gate, there are 3 of you, and 1 man firmly held by Thomas, who's managed to restrict him from running away thus far. Edward White Viper, who's watching a receding horse backside as it rides away, and Beatrice, who has neatly stood nowhere near being in the way. So, what are the 3 of you doing now?
Can I say something like, find the trinket, the thing that he took?
You can certainly say it.
Hopefully loud enough that they can hear.
Okay, Thomas, do you want to keep holding this guy, or do you
Yeah,
want to
I want to keep holding because I just want to restrain him, hold him, so either anyone else can put a couple of blows in or frisk him or whatever. But as I'm holding him, I'm just going, right, why did you kill that girl? What did she give you? We saw you give her something.
He's not speaking at all. Okay, he's grunting.
Yep.
He's generally straining and biting back at you, but he's not speaking. You can make a physical challenge then if you're
Okay.
holding on.
Yep. I rolled a 2, unfortunately.
He breaks free.
Damn
And
it.
takes a good step forwards. So the White Viper. Sorry, I don't really know the noble title for you. You said minor aristocracy, so I'm inventing it as we go along. You may be emperor or king by the end of this. I don't know. In the meantime, can you tell me what you'd like to do at this stage?
He's just literally broken free from Thomas.
He's taking
so
a pace forwards, basically. Yeah.
I think I will assist him in his pace forward and try and either trip him or wrestle him to the ground. I want to get control of him a bit, and I think him being on the ground is going to be a lot easier to then.
It'll be easier for me to
Keep
stab
on.
him if he's on the floor.
With a pair of scissors, which you're not running with, definitely.
Yep.
Okay. So you're going to try and trip him off and get him on the ground.
Yep.
That will also be a physical challenge at this point.
3.
Okay. He staggers, but he doesn't trip. He sort of takes a sort of heavy step forwards, if you like, but he doesn't trip over. He's now standing sort of vaguely sideways onto Thomas, mostly facing you, Edward, and not really facing Beatrice at all, because she was the other side. So at the moment, that's where you're at. So Beatrice, your action now.
I would like to disregard the rules and run with my scissors and sort of
Heresy.
leap.
Oh, this is
Blasphemy.
serious stuff.
I'm gonna run and I'm gonna leap and try and just get at him.
Leap to get up to 4'6".
Yeah. So I don't stab him in the buttocks.
Back of the knee.
Make a physical challenge.
We're not
Absolutely.
five-ish.
Come on, Beatrice.
4 again.
Okay.
Beauty.
You firmly embed your cutting implements in the gentleman's back. He does stagger somewhat from that. That's quite a heinous wound on him. But strangely, although he staggers from the force of the blow, where you would have expected a splash of blood or something, there's nothing.
Bugger. He's
There's no
undead.
bleeding.
God's teeth.
Okay. Now, in all this time, the gentleman's cloaked hood has not fallen back. But now it does, as he reels from the blow that you dealt him. And at this point, you can now make an unraveling roll.
Oh,
To do
mate.
this, you will need to roll a d8, anything but a 1 or 2. Because you all start with a d8 unraveling. We
6.
should.
5.
4.
Oh, Henry.
Oh, Henry.
Henry. What are we going to do about Henry? Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do about Henry. So the problem with unraveling. Okay, let's get to unraveling. Right. Basically, the unraveling is your inbuilt fear. I'll explain why you're feeling fear in a moment. But the first thing that happens is you roll twice. Once for a immediate effect and once for an ongoing consequence. Also, your unraveling drops down to a d6 for future reference from a d8. So you need to roll a d8 and a d6 for your immediate effect and ongoing consequence. So we'll start with the d8, which is your immediate effect.
That's an 8.
Okay. You are inadvisably optimistic, despite the horrors of the difficulty of the situation faced.
I have got an easygoing
Blindly
attitude.
positive, in fact. Acts of violence or aggression are stepped down while in the presence of the fear source. In other words, stepped up rather. You get a negative against it. If you'd like to roll the d6,
That would be a 5.
and the second roll,
That would be a 5.
actually, I think you only roll once, but it doesn't matter. It's the same thing either way.
It would be a 5.
Your ongoing consequence, which will stick with you to the end of the scenario almost, is you are despiteful. You are unforgiven and driven to seek redress for any slight or wrong. Your humours are unbalanced, and you must act accordingly. Anyway, okay. The reason why you made the unraveling roll is because the gentleman isn't dead. That would be the wrong description, but he is severely afflicted by something. His face is gaunt and pale. His expression is drawn. He looks decidedly unwell, but beyond the point where people would normally survive. His expression, his face is sunken in almost.
So he essentially he looks dead, but he's moving
He looks
around.
dead, but he doesn't look dead at the same time. There's still some colour to him. He's not dead. He's not undead. Is probably a better way of putting it.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Right. I don't know who's go, but I just when I see that, I just kind of a real look of kind of disgust goes across my face, and I just grab my cudgel, my stuff, and I just try and strike him as hard as I can across the face.
Okay. Well, that will be a physical challenge for you, but bearing in mind that he also gets a physical challenge now because you're now in one-to-one combat. So the first physical challenge you will roll to dodge him. The second you will roll to hit, effectively. So let's do that.
I rolled a 3 to dodge.
Right, that's good enough.
And I rolled a 4 to hit.
Excellent. Okay. He staggers, reeling from the blow, but he's still very much up on his feet. Edward.
I shall stick him with the pointy end of my short sword.
Roll a physical challenge.
A palpable 3.
Okay. And with that, Edward runs him through, and the living, dead, not sure which, man falls to his knees and groans a horrible groan, and then slumps to the ground. He seems to be dispatched.
Don't trust it.
Has anybody seen
Someone
anything?
cut his head off.
Pass me your scissors.
It might take a little bit of time, but we'll get it done.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not how you use scissors.
How she uses scissors.
I will take my scissors back out of his back.
Yeah, you can do
and
that.
I will wipe them on his clothes like he did with that girl.
The hem of his skirt, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to search the body.
Yeah.
When I withdraw my sword, does it have blood on it, as one would expect from him?
No, it actually looks a bit cleaner than it did before you used it, like you'd been wiping it on something. No, there's no blood on it at all. Okay, so you're searching the body.
Yeah, for whatever he took from that girl before he stabbed her.
Well, in the folds of his cloak, you find a ringlet or a lock of hair, which is clipped at the top, so it all stays together. The only bizarre thing about it is the hair is flame red.
Oh no! Does it look possibly like it might match the hair of our great and mighty Queen Elizabeth?
The wig of our great and mighty
Maybe.
Queen
True, yeah.
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
It possibly could match her hair. But then you don't know. You haven't seen the Queen in person. I mean, who sees the Queen in person? You'd have to have some sort of magic seeing box to see the Queen in person.
As a minor courtier, I might have been in her presence.
Yes, and you could possibly make a wild guess that it is the same colour.
Well, you know, I've had her sat. I've painted the Queen Elizabeth. Well, I've had a painting sat, and I've painted the painting. But, you know, it's almost the same, right?
A painting of a painting of a painting.
Does that look like it could belong to Her Majesty?
The colour of
Certainly, it seems to be the right shade.
Matches the painting. I'd like to see whether I can find the thing that was exchanged.
That is the thing.
That was it.
That was the thing.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Okay, I'm actually interested to see who is interred here in the graveyard.
And where are you looking precisely?
I'm going to go back into the graveyard. I'm going to try and recollect, because there was a bit of a minor genuflection, wasn't there? To look at the tombs there, see if there are any names that I might recognise.
He nodded at a grave at the corner, if you remember correctly. Now that's fairly easy to find because it's at the corner. So the interesting thing about that is no one's been buried here since the dissolution. The convent has been abandoned for 20 odd years, so the gravestones have fallen into disarray. And there obviously was a little bit of grave robbing and vandalism that went on, probably not much, but a little. It's not uncommon for dissolved buildings to have a little bit of less than pleasant thievery go on, shall we say. So the gravestone over this particular tomb, or the grave marker, if you like, has been somewhat damaged by people moving the stone lid of the mausoleum over and various other things. And the only thing you can actually see is a shield design in the corner of the gravestone. Phil, can you make an intellectual challenge, please?
Yeah, I can. Be a D8. And that will be a 1.
Okay. That's not good then. Anyway, so there's a coat of arms or a shield design in the corner of the gravestone.
Here, you, my lordship, Mr. White Viper, Sir White Viper. You know anything about heraldry?
Well, one knows a little.
Then you can also make an intellectual roll at this point.
Yeah. Before I do that, while I'm adjacent to the body, I want to have a look at his dagger to see if there is any monogram or escutcheon on that, and also to see if there is anything else, any jewelry that he's wearing.
Between the quillions of the dagger, there is a very small ceramic style design of that shield.
Okay. In that case, then I shall make my intellect roll on that design of the escutcheon there. Okay. Which is a 7.
Very good. Okay, you don't remember whose coat of arms it is, but you do remember the heraldic term for it, which would be gules, a fess engrailed argent.
That would accord with my knowledge of heraldry. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. At some point, then, we will have to go to the Lord Pursuivant, who is the head of the house of the organisation, the College of Arms. That's the words I was looking for, and we'll be able to find out what family that belongs to.
Are you saying that out loud, that heraldic description? Are you telling the others?
I see no reason why not. Yes, Jules. What did we say? It was Jules.
Jules,
Discussion?
a fesse engrailed argent.
So Jules is the heraldic term for red. Fesse is that horizontal line. Engrailed means it's wavy, and argent means silver or white.
Yeah, pretty much. As you mention it to the others, including Henry, can you make an intellectual challenge again, please?
That's a 5.
That's good enough. Full confess the grail are wrong. Ghouls, a fesse engrailed argent. She was trying to describe the shield to you. You just heard it wrong.
I reckon she was. That don't make sense. That's what she was saying.
She was trying to identify him to us. She was trying to identify him to us.
That's pretty much what she said when she was dying.
Okay. All right. Well,
before we whilst they're like talking about Heldra, I'm going to sidle over to Beatrice, because I could when I was trying to send out my necromancia senses, I could feel that you would die, fail, but you do it. So I kind of edge over to you and I go, Beatrice, have you seen anything like this before? Anything what they've done to this man?
No.
Yeah. Correct. No, you haven't seen anything like this before.
It is odd.
Why?
Odd. Yeah, I don't.
Now you've examined him closer, actually, you can actually put another word to it. Desiccated would be the best word. Dried out.
Like coconut.
It's like the skin's been pulled tight and it's been dried.
I would like to tie his feet and arms up, because I don't trust that he ain't going to come back again. I'd like to take his belt off of him.
Speaks the role player.
Tie his
Too
arms
many
up.
undead come back.
I thought you were just going to nick his belt.
I'd use his belt to tie his arms up. Tie his legs up. I ain't having him running after us again, not bleeding and all that. I ain't having that.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think he's definitely dead now.
Just in case.
Say that anyway.
Just in case. I don't trust it.
Okay. So
is there anything else on? Is there anything else on the body? Any jewelry? Any papers?
He has a dagger,
and
he has the lock of hair. He has a small, bizarre looking glass type thing, like a lady's vanity mirror or something like that.
No, he doesn't. I've got that.
And other than the wounds that we've inflicted, so the scissor wound and my sword wound, are there any other obvious wounds or marks on the body that we can see?
Nope. Not that you can see. Are you examining the lady's vanity glass, Beatrice, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. When you look into it, the reflection you see is not yours.
Gross.
It's of a fine young man with a beard, not Phil. A nice beard. And,
that's a point. In this company, I am young. Bonus.
Shut your mouth. I'm the young one here.
Yeah, but you're not a young man, are you?
No, the young one.
In any case, it's not your reflection. Everyone
Does
else.
it kind of look like his reflection? Like if he was a.
It probably does, but more importantly, everyone else who's looking at Beatrice notice that she now has the head of a finely bearded young man.
Jesus.
Although it looks a bit sort of blurry and distorted slightly, it definitely looks like the man in the reflection.
Beatrice, your head, you've become. Something's wrong with your face. Your head, you're looking like.
I go
like
put the mirror down and go, what?
And as you do so, your normal visage is restored.
That were interesting.
Right, give me the mirror. Let me show you. Give me the mirror. Give me the mirror.
All right.
So I take it and I do it, and I look in the mirror.
The same thing happens.
This is what happened to you. This what happened to your face.
God blimey, that's an
God
odd
blimey.
one. That's a trick, isn't it? That's a trick.
I know.
That ain't right.
I give you the mirror back. So do you reckon it's him?
Maybe. Would make sense, I suppose.
Okay, right. So you're left with a dead body of a desiccated man, a dead body of what appears to be a serving maid or some such. You're in a graveyard. It's now easily half past an hour, or well, half an hour to an hour after dusk. And you're south of the river, half an hour after dusk.
Right,
So what are you doing now?
Booking
You have
back
at least
to the
two
good
bodies
side.
to resolve, first of all, perhaps.
Nah, it's this place. No one comes in here. No one's going.
I think I just reach up and I shut the gates.
Bit of locking.
As if they're curtains and then just draw them close.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel bad about leaving the girl here, but him I couldn't give two hoots about. But
Yeah, what are we
I don't
going to do with the girl? Just like walk her up to Whitehill, weekend at Bernie style. Just be like,
Yes.
you lost your servant. We found
Weekend
her.
at
I think
Bernie's
it's
is
gonna be a
obviously
bit-
one of those
I don't
Shakespearean
quite get
plays
that
that's very
reference.
popular.
It's
It's a
going to be a
very
bit
good
difficult.
play that's on at the moment by that Will Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Billy Shakespeare.
Will Shakespeare. Not one of his best known ones, but
No,
Yeah.
don't like any of that modern crap.
Sir Bernard.
A fine evening with Bernard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon it'd be quite difficult to get across the river, to be honest with you.
Well, it might
Wow.
cause some questions with the ferryman. You know, it's like-
Indeed. I think, to be honest, we don't really want to be found in this location with these two corpora delicti. So perhaps a prudent retreat down the path and cross the river back to civilization.
Run away!
bravely run away.
Are
Bravely
you
run
leaving
away.
the bodies
I'm with you, my lord.
literally out in the open then?
Yeah, well, it's not really out in the open, is it? Because it's a graveyard. We had to go in. We know that this place is like an old convent. No one lives here, so
All right, okay, that's fine by me.
Yep.
Right, okay.
he's
so,
all tied up, so he can't chase us when he comes back to life again. Apparently.
Take off his bed.
Okay, so moving on. Right, you valiantly run away. I assume you go back to the wherry and try and get passage back across the river.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Are you going to try and proceed to the College of Arms? Because they will have probably someone there, even in the early evening.
I would. Yeah, I think we should. I think.
I see
time
no
of the
reason why
essence.
not.
Okay. Well, the College of Arms is part of the Palace of Whitehall. It's on the side of Whitehall. And once you knock on the door, a small figure with a candle and it peers round and says, "What do you be wanting?"
We'd like to look at the register to identify an escutcheon.
"Oh, I'm sorry, my lord, I didn't see you there. You can come in." He sort of looks warily at the other three of you.
We're with.
These are my loyal retainers.
"Oh, please. And he brings you into the outer part of the College of Arms. So the College of Arms is, for want of a better word, a scrollery. It is full of books and scrolls and some wooden placards of more famous crests of the royal family and major nobility on the walls and so on. This particular part is really just a sort of storage room for the entire heraldic history of England. In any case, the small man, who introduces himself as Hobbs, says to you, "And what would you be looking for, my lord?" My lord, White Viper.
We need to identify the family who bears the escutcheon Jules Effekt Grailed Argent.
Oh, Fessing is not common, you know. Not common. No. A moment. And he goes and starts rooting through piles of paperwork. And you can hear him go, no, not them, not them. No, he's dead. No.
Probably
never
all right
liked
if he's dead.
Yeah, it wasn't us.
We're not sure he's dead. And eventually, after much muttering and cursing, he brings over a scroll, which is a royal patent nobilis, which has that design at the top of it. And underneath says in rather ornate script the word Flandery in big letters. And the fact that so-and-so was made Sir so-and-so of Flandery, 15 something or other, blah, 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 blah. And it goes on and lists various things. But currently, the only holder of that particular design is Sir William Flandery. All his relatives, everyone else in that line is deceased, and he's the only male heir that was entitled to carry it. This be the one you're wanting, my lord?
That looks to be it. Thank you.
Of course, it's very difficult to keep all these scrolls and books in order, my lord. We have so little space, and we are in need of repairs to the lower library and the archive. And obviously, it's the mice, my lord, the mice. If only we had some, sufficient means.
They need cats. That's what they need. They need
They
cats.
do indeed need cats. Well, I fish out a suitable coin to contribute to, in a small way, to these required repairs.
He gleefully pockets the coin and says, "Very noble of you, my lord. Very noble of you. I shall mention you to her ladyship, the Queen herself. I will. Yes, if I ever meet her. Anyway, moving on. And he escorts you to the door. So I'm glad to have been of service. Anytime, day or night. I have all the shields here, all the arms."
You don't happen to know where this William Flandery might call his residence, do you, my good friend?
I wouldn't know, but a moment, he says, and he goes back to the scroll he just gave you. He says, "Well, there was a grant of land in Cheapside. I assume that is still associated. It's not a hereditary fief or property, but maybe he still owns the same."
Oh, that's very thankful. My thanks to you, and I also tip him a much smaller, less significant coin than my Lord White Viper has.
Well, I suppose it will do for dried cheese for the traps. One's in his pocket and wanders back in. The door closes. Okay, he leaves you standing outside the College of Arms again. Now what?
Is the name familiar to me?
Very vaguely, in the same way that you might remember a distant relative of the modern royal family, but know nothing about them. You've heard it, maybe, in the same way you've heard an author 10 years ago and can barely remember anything about them. Certainly, it's not someone you've seen often at court or bumped into or heard mentioned or...
Right, I think the only other lead we've got is maybe check out this place at Cheapside.
Okay.
I think if we've got a place, we've got to look. If something happened to him, something turned him into that, I reckon it could be there.
Okay.
I think we got. Unless anybody has another idea, I think we check out Cheapside and see what we've got.
Okay.
We do that, and then we go find out what's going on, and we twat him one.
Okay.
Bye.
Well, it's easy enough to get to Cheapside. Cheapside is a major thoroughfare, even in this time, this day and age. It is after dusk, so technically the city gates of London would be closed, but to a man of Sir White Viper's obvious gentlemanness and nobility, it can be arranged to re-enter the city without too much hassle. Cheapside itself is it's a mix. It starts off rich at one end and then slowly gets worse as you go down it. But this address that you've been given is certainly towards the richer end. That said, London itself is crowded with people. The recent drought has driven many people to poverty, begging on the streets. And the city itself is never empty. The streets are always crowded. And even at this time of the evening, there's a hustle and bustle going on. There are vendors hawking wares. There are people begging for money. There are richer nobles pushing them out the way. And the smell is unbearable. The recent heat and dryness and the smell of the way, it's just an unbearable stench. And this is the rich area, so bear that in mind. Okay, you go to the house. The house is completely boarded up. The doors are firmly shut. The windows have been shuttered and closed. The whole house is sealed, tight as a sealed thing. There's no obvious sign of life. There are no lights, no smoke, nothing.
Right. Is there like as we walk up? Is it like behind? Is it like a townhouse? So the front door leads straight onto the street.
The front door is literally onto the street. There's no front yard or garden or gate or anything like that. Imagine your typical Tudor house butting straight up onto a street. It's a rather nice house. It's a mixture of stone and wood, which is rather impressive, but it appears to be closed.
I just as we walk up, I'm going to take a little stroll around it, seeing there's any like back doors, back windows.
You can't really stroll around it. You can stroll sort of vaguely to the sides and things. Okay. It doesn't look like it has any side entrances, at least. There's only the entrance at the front. It's not easy to get to the back of it from where you are.
Right.
Anyone any good at picking locks?
I mean, not really. I mean, I'll give it a go, but it's not my forte.
Well, you can make an intellectual roll if you want to do that.
I don't know. I'll give it a go. So we got anything? So I don't know. I'd like rummage around in my belt pouch and find like a bit of wire or something. I just jam it in the lock and give it a wiggle, and see what I can do. Okay. Ooh, a 6.
Okay. So the thing is that though you think you can pick the lock or you can do something with the lock, the door is resistant. Like there's a bar or something wedged behind it. You can't quite work out what, but you think the door's been blocked from the inside.
Now, I've got, as my favour, I've got Frost, and it's got Slide, Slip, Obscure. Could I maybe use that to try and fortuitously have whatever's blocking it to slide, to move to one side, something like that? Or is that not really how it works?
You could try, but you normally have to see the object you're sliding, and unfortunately, it's behind a door.
Okay. Right.
Right, let me pause you there because I understand we have an audio problem with Phil, who is probably shouting and screaming in his little box there, but we can't hear him at all. He's muted, it seems, although he apparently can hear us because I can see him respond to everything I'm saying. We did say 90 minutes in would take a short break, so if you wish to go and powder your noses or whatever. Well, in Edward's case, definitely powder, a little bit of fluff or something. And we will return in a moment or two when our generous host has worked out why he can't be heard.
Cool. All right. Okay. See you guys in a sec.
And we are back, and hopefully everyone can hear me. We shall rejoin everyone here. Very sorry about that. I lost all audio and I couldn't hear anyone. So I don't know. I guess the anger at seeing, or upset at seeing this girl just slaughtered in front of my eyes just weighed heavily on my soul for a second.
And killed your MacBook.
But no, everything was fine. It's just suddenly I got no audio coming in at all. I've got quite a complicated setup. I think the driver crashed or something, but I didn't have to reboot or anything. It just started working again.
In any case,
yes,
you rejoin us outside of William Flandry's house.
I've kind of looked up and go, huh? What? What I missed?
Thomas Morehouse has desperately tried to pick a lock, which he has found to be boarded or barred from inside anyway. And in which case, his tinkering has come to naught. Yeah. And you are still standing in the street outside at this point.
Right, this door went up and there's something behind it. I've tried to get the lock. Can we get in a window?
Can I? Have you been trying to pick the lock and you just couldn't get to it?
No, I've picked the lock, but there's something behind it. There's a bar or there's something barricaded up against the door. I can't see it to move it. It's just blocked.
Right. Well,
okay. At this point, you notice that there is, for want of a better description, a toothless crone, although it's a cliche, sitting. There's a cliche. Sitting by the side of the house in the street. She hasn't moved much. It's perhaps why you haven't noticed her before. But she says, "No point doing that."
What is that?
He's not there.
We didn't want to have tea with him.
Well, you won't be. He's not there.
Has he moved out?
Sorry, I'm going to go Monty Python in a minute, and I do apologise.
We're all Monty Python friendly here. Go for it. Commit.
He's not there. He's not there. I had the temptation to go, he's a very naughty boy.
Is he not in? Is he not in because he's a naughty boy?
I wouldn't know. He's not in.
Has he moved out?
No, he's just gone.
Have you seen him recently, madam?
Oh, I can't remember. My mind's not what it was.
Is it not? Is there anything that might jog your memory, milady?
I was told by the apothecary that silver's a good cure for bad memories.
Is it really? Is it really? My Lord White Viper.
Also known as mobile HSBC ATM.
This charming, graceful lady might need a bit of silvery tonic to help jog her memory about this house and who lives here and when she might have seen him last and such things.
I crossed her palm with silver.
She takes the coin, bites it firmly with a few teeth remaining in her mouth, and then rubs it on her forehead and says, yes, it's coming back to me now. Yes, he left about a week ago. Yes, he's gone. He's gone to his place in the marsh.
The marsh?
Yeah, Hackney Marsh.
Right, okay.
I apologise for the shrillness of my voice in this interlude.
And you haven't seen anyone come in and out anything?
And they all went in, his manservant, everyone.
Oh, interesting. And about a week ago, you say?
About a week, yeah.
All right, well.
Why have you been watching him?
I haven't. I've been sitting there.
All the time? Ain't you got home to go to?
Well, occasionally go and eat. Might occasionally go and shit. Otherwise, I'll sit here.
Did he take everything with him?
Legit.
She says yes. Because I can't be bothered to do the voice anymore because I'm probably going to end up coughing for the rest of the scenario.
Right.
So you just have to imagine a shrill, toothless voice as I respond.
Right, do we want to I think it's worth seeing if we can get in to see something, if it's here, or if we want to head to this Hackney Marsh.
We could have a quick look round. There's a debt that is owed.
Aye, there is.
Okay, so how are you going to try and break in? Here's a hint.
Scissors.
Scissors won't work this time.
Damn it.
I opened this building in the name.
Are there any other upper story windows? Are there any? If I have a look, are there any windows that have got like the shutters are maybe not quite as secure or not quite as loose?
It looks like it was battened down for a storm. The shutters are firmly shut. The door is firmly shut. The house looks definitely locked up. Bear in mind that if you were a minor noble and you had a house that you were going to leave sometime and the street's full of beggars, you're likely to lock it down fairly tightly.
Yeah.
I think
Say we go to that marsh.
Yeah, it's
I
going to take quite a while to get
know
through here.
where on Hackney Marsh this property is, because Hackney Marsh is actually quite large.
Hackney Marsh is vast. But yes, she can actually give you some rough directions.
How does she know all this? She's fallen into the marshes. She's suspicious.
You never asked her name. It might be A to Z. You never know.
Good old
In any
Ater.
case,
Yeah.
she says it's out by the border of Leighton Marsh and Hackney Marsh, but she doesn't know any more than that. That nails it down to a road at least. Okay.
Some poxy else over there then.
Right, I guess we best.
Maybe we'll be lucky and his coat of arms will be on the gate.
Fingers
Like to
crossed.
embiggen me. I will give you a map. Now, my apologies, this map is actually from the 1800s, not the 1500s, because there was no map of Hackney Marsh in the 1500s that I could find.
Andy, quite frankly, I'm appalled.
I know. I mean, the
just
historical
slower
accuracy
effort.
is just dreadful, but nevertheless, it's about right. So you can see some
Game,
things
this
that are
is
vaguely
accurate.
familiar to your modern day personas. There's Hackney, Homerton, over here somewhere would be Stratford, but this is Leighton and Hackney Marsh here, and you can see there is the Hackney. I can't remember the name of the river, but it's the Hackney River anyway. The Bride or something, I think it's called, that goes through, and you can see this road here that divides the two, although Leighton Marsh goes a little bit over it, to be fair. So presumably you need to follow this road here.
We do
And
that.
find a building suitable for a Knight of the Realm.
I'm thinking that this is an investigation that is going to be best done in daylight, because I think Hackney and Leighton Marsh at this time of night are likely to be perilous and dark.
It's probably best.
I can barely read the map.
Put that candle too close to it.
Yeah.
I can embiggen it for you.
But
You're
still
zooming
pretty
in.
dark.
You're falling from the sky over Hackney Marsh. So yes, there's Leighton Marsh. There's I don't know what it's called, the Bridle or something. Anyway, and then the road goes across it here. But this is effectively a causeway at this point, because it's not a particularly good area to build on, which anyone who's ever been to Hackney would probably agree with. But anyway, moving on. So there you go, Hackney Marsh and Leighton Marsh as they were.
I say we
300
go
years
early in the
after the
morning.
Safari. And you're going out there at the crack of dawn or the first thing in the
Yeah.
morning in any case. Okay.
I've got the street smarts expertise. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but you
Okay.
have marsh smarts.
They've got them marsh smarts. But we're on a sort of street in the marsh.
Causeway smart.
Got them river
But what
smarts.
exactly are you trying to determine with these marsh smarts? Which
With
is
my
actually
marsh
really hard to say.
Marsh smarts and parsh smarts.
What I'd like to try and determine is, well, what based on what we saw at his other house, if I can maybe talk to some people that maybe be around there that might have seen him. I also
Well, you can
have the
talk to villagers.
influence
I mean, there's
thing.
plenty of people around on the route. It's not abandoned by any means in daylight. There are people who live in Clapton. There are people who live over here towards Capper Street and so on.
I'd
Leighton
like
Street. I mean,
to pick
you'll find
some that
someone.
maybe look a bit less, posh and
Less
stuff.
well-to-do.
Yeah. You know, some of the people that will be on the streets like
What's the
all the
phrase?
time.
Less well-to-do and more who are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
road sweeps and such and the like. See if any of them have seen
really as a road sweep as such, but yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know that's Victorian.
In any
Someone
case,
who cleans up the
Victorian map,
shit
so
that's
you may as
out
well.
the window.
We'll just put the anachronisms to one side for the moment. Okay, you find a fellow who's happy to talk. He says that yeah, Sir William does have a property out this way, but it's not a grand house at all. It's more of a, well, he'd describe it as a shack, really. He's not sure why Sir William keeps it, because it's not a working farm or anything like that. It's just a sort of outbuilding. But he's been known to come here from time to time. As far as he knows, he just likes the isolation of it.
Good to know, my friend. Good to know.
And he gives you
I don't have
directions.
any money to slip him. I say, talk to that dude up there. He'll sort you out.
You see a strange fellow walk towards you. Excuse me. All right. So now you have a location roughly by the L here. Oh, well, you're not looking at it because I haven't got it up. Roughly by the L in the middle of the marsh map here. There is an outhouse, which apparently Sir William owns.
An outhouse?
Yeah. Don't start, Phil. Anyway. So
He lives in a bog on the marsh.
Yeah. It's a boggy marsh.
Let's just change my handout for you. Okay. So I assume you're heading there.
Yeah.
Are we going straight there, or are we?
Yes.
Or are we going to go in the morning?
I thought it is the morning.
I think it is the morning.
This is the morning.
Wake up, Henry.
Anyone would think I keep having audio issues and things.
I'm beginning to wonder if you've just got general lag yourself, Phil. Actually, you know.
It's been a long year.
Come on, Henry. Let's get a coffee in you.
That would be amazing. I would totally. It's quite late, actually. The time of recording, it's nearly 10 p.m. If I have a coffee now, I'll be really happy now. Not so happy at about 4 a.m.
Yeah.
But you can't have one because it's anachronistic. So moving on. Okay. So we're going to be historically accurate, damn it. You can't have a coffee. Okay.
Pedant.
You want to
Don't want any of you pedant types around here. Cool.
Now, Hackney Marshes is fairly waterlogged. This building is just off the road, but as you can see, the ground is wet in places, so much so that he actually has to have a boat. At this point, I will note that this image was created with the Creative Commons license, and I therefore have permission to use it in this scenario. But nevertheless, it is an image owned by IJ Dungeon Master on Patreon, so just to say that. In any case, so there's a shack, there's a small well outside. Obviously, the man or whoever lives here tries to grow some vegetables, but it's not doing terribly well in the boggy soil. And the road is immediately to the south of this, and you come up here over this makeshift little footbridge here. There is a boat, but the boat is kind of pointless. The water is only a foot deep at most, so it's more for show rather than travel, really. And there's this little outcrop of land between the boggy soil.
I'm wondering.
Sorry.
So I've just had a thought. I mean, I'm quite good at deception. I wonder if we could do something really borderline anachronistic, in that I seem to recall, and I'm sure Nick probably has this in his encyclopedic brain, that insurance kind of came around in the Elizabethan times. And I'm a bit of an art expert. And this guy used to have probably a reasonable collection of art in his nice home.
The only thing this is bringing to mind is the episode of Steptoe and Son, where he gets defrauded of a piece of art. But anyway, go on.
That sounds fine. Well, I'm just thinking of a reason to go and knock on the door and make, see if he wants to buy some insurance for his art.
We tracked you down to this here.
In this particular era, the sort of insurance you'd be selling would be more protection money, I would think, than insurance.
Well, that's fine. I'm quite happy to sell that.
Okay.
Taking a brief step back from this improbable plan, are there any signs of life at the shack? Is there any smoke from a chimney?
There's a smoke coming out from the
Sure.
chimney.
Mhm.
As we approach, and my Lord White Viper points us out, I'm just gonna I say right, I'm gonna head around the back of the shack to see if there's any way out, or if you knock on the front, anyone bursts out. But I'm gonna circle around here and just lurk.
Given the general state of the shack, you would think it's practically possible to get out from any wall if you were really determined. It's not particularly well made or put together. As you can see from this image, the roof itself is sagging in the middle. A strong wind, and you take your chances, really.
Okay.
Finally, a time for my scissors.
You can prop the house up.
Universal breaking and entry tool. A pair of sharp scissors.
Who knew they could be quite so versatile and useful? I mean,
Yeah.
Years from now, they'll probably even use them to cut paper. I mean, the uses are endless.
Now they're a bit blunt now. They've been in a person.
Are they those scissors that make like the zigzag patterns when you cut with?
Yeah. Yeah, they're dressmaker scissors.
That's the one. Yeah.
Thinking shares.
Any case, okay. So the smoke coming out the chimney. You're on a small grassy hillock with a tree there. You can see by the side of the building, a small well. Ignore the fact that inside the well is green. It is actually not. It probably is. It's probably swamp algae, or not, marsh algae rather, or something like that. And yeah, it's basically as you see it there, really. Okay. You can
Thomas
see
is going around the back.
door is.
I will go around one side, and Henry is going to knock on the front door and try and give him a bit of flannel then.
Okay.
I'll go to the back. Well, the other side,
Yeah.
wherever someone. I'll cover whatever's not covered.
Okay. So Henry, you knock on the door.
Remind me what this chap's name is.
So William
so-
Blundry.
Sir William,
Should look in. Wait, what's
Sir
his
William
name?
Flaundry.
What's his bloke's name again? Flandry, right.
Okay.
Knock, knock.
You knock on the door. Hoskins, just come in, comes the voice from inside.
I open the door a little bit. Hello, Mr. Flandry?
You're not Hoskins.
No.
It's rather dark inside, although there is a fire burning out in the fireplace. The shack is rather basic. It's a table, chair, a type of sort of cot-style bed. Not really much in here of much worth or value. It's really quite run down. Sir William Flandry, however, is well dressed and seated at the table, and he looks exactly like Beatrice Cole's strange illusion a little while ago. Excuse me.
A twin.
Um,
I'm not.
He's
there.
looking at you and going, "Who are you? Name yourself, sir."
I'm very sorry to bother you. My name's Joe's Nicewith, and forgive me. I seem to recall you had have quite a nice property, and basically, I understand that you've moved, and I wondered if you're interested in downsizing your art collection.
Sorry, can I just pause you there? This is beginning to sound like a scam call. Are you having
I
problems with
literally-
Now you won't believe it,
Nixon,
but
sir?
I'm the Prince of Nigeria.
If you could just pay me, I'll give you lots of money.
You can be
No,
too
I'm-
gold.
I understand that you've downsized your property, I believe, and I know you had quite a large collection of art, and I wondered if you'd be interested in parting with any of it.
Are you a fool, or do you just sound like one?
Well, yes.
Well, which is it?
Look,
Why not
I,
both?
I can't
Yeah,
help
why
where
not?
I was raised, sir. But nonetheless, I represent a person of money, and
Needless
I was
to
asked to
say,
find
I
out
was
what happened to your
expecting
collection.
My man Hoskins, and you are not him. So you are not welcome here, sir. And I would bid you good day on your way.
Didn't even get to roll for deception.
He's expecting a particular person, you think?
Right. Okay. So, well, thank you very much. I hope your house burns down. And then he leaves.
And he starts repeating a whole load of curse phrases that we may have read earlier on. Something about your cows being barren and
Cows being barren. I don't have any cows.
I've got
May
to
they
say,
cut me onto a sieve. May their pigs be set upon by ravens.
yeah, that's my favourite one. May thy pigs be set upon by ravens and torn asunder. It's just such a
It's great.
it's too specific,
It really is great.
isn't it? Anyway,
right. So could we overhear if this shack is quite so ramshackle
you
as it is?
definitely hear both sides of it.
And I was
It's
intentionally
too
speaking quite
close,
loudly.
and it wasn't that quiet really. And he was raising his voice for William. So yeah, you heard this.
Right. Okay, I crack my knuckles. Should we just go in and beat the life out of him until he tells us what we want?
What
I
if
gave him
he's
my,
waiting someone? That person that we killed, who was already dead. I'll say this a little bit quiet.
Why don't you discuss your plans loudly outside?
We shuffle over a little bit.
Here,
So
that
we
bloke.
don't know his name.
Wait a minute. Which bloke? Who are they looking for?
Yeah,
Looks like
Hodgkins. Or whatever.
Hodgkins. Listen,
But-
listen. He looked just like you did when you had that thing with the thing and the. I wonder if he's.
So, are we thinking they're like brothers?
Don't know. Maybe they all look like that. Maybe there's a cult of them.
Maybe if we show him this mirror.
What if you go in looking like him? Not you. I reckon.
What are we
Malthouse could do it.
holding it? I'm
Well,
4 foot. I'm your
maybe
brother.
Maybe he's expecting that bloke who we did in after he killed the girl. Maybe he's expecting him to look like him, and then they'll go in, and then it was like, oh, you're me, so you must be him.
Bit suspicious after you just
Maybe
tried
he
to,
should just go in mob-handed and hold his feet to the fire.
yeah,
No,
and
I
then be
approve
like,
of.
be scared of us. We already killed the other one who was dead already.
With scissors.
Explain that.
Right, okay. So you're just going to burst in.
Yeah.
I'd like to grab that
Yeah.
mirror though.
Well, I'll
Anyway.
hand it to you. You have to grab it.
No,
Give me.
I'm going to do the thing.
Right,
With the thing and then...
Some sort of crazy tug of war over a mirror and the door just opens. Hang on, we're preparing a deception.
Hey, if we both have it at the same time, do we both look like...
It probably fits between the two of you. I'm not going to go down
Just
that,
half and half.
that level of discussion. Anyway, okay. Sorry, that's ruined that item for me. Sorry, everyone. The face is swapping sides as you tug on.
I'll have one half, you
Anyway.
have the other.
Yeah, maybe one half of your face, Jay. Never mind. Is this my good side? So you're just going to go and open the door and burst in, Spanish Inquisition style, straight through the door.
But I'm going to look like that bloke who looked like him.
Okay, he's somewhat taken aback and surprised, even though he probably heard a lot of kerfuffle outside that all four of you have entered. And he draws a sword as you come in. He's very confused. Yes, it's a plan of attack, Phil. You can Google what that looks like.
I don't
In
need
any
to Google.
case, Google? What's Google? In any case, he has a sword drawn and is facing you. He says, "Whatever you want, I do not have it.
I want to know why you killed the girl.
I didn't kill any girl.
I want to know why you had her killed.
I show him the dagger and say, this incriminates you, this implicates you in a murder.
I do not show the hair locket that I have.
Mm.
Keep that to myself.
He looks at the dagger and goes, "Well, I suppose waiting for Hoskins will be a fruitless endeavour, since he will not be returning to me. A shame. I'll
Put
have
up
to
your
make
sword,
another."
sir.
Make another.
Make another. I don't
So
think you're
you-
going to be making much
you-
of anything.
You did that to him.
He did
You
it
made
to
him that.
himself.
You made him that desiccated husk.
Oh no, he did that
Clone.
to himself. I just gave him some work.
Put up your sword, sir.
Put up
Draw
your
yours, sir, and then settle this like gentlemen.
I draw.
Okay. So you now have two gentlemen armed with swords, and you three armed with a very small pair of scissors.
But the
Um,
large
and
And a big
scissors.
stick.
And a
A
stick.
sickle. I've got a
And a
sickle.
The large
All right,
scissors.
okay.
I have written large.
Phil, would you like to
Like the
toss
dress.
your trusty coin of initiative, please?
Because that went so well last time. That is tails again.
Okay, he goes first, and he will be going against Edward, really, because he's the guy with the sword. So, with typical noble arrogance, he's going for the other gentleman. And in this case, you may make a physical challenge and not get a 1 or 2, please, if you'd be so kind.
Ooh, a 6.
Even better, you dodge his initial lunge, and you may now make another physical challenge to respond.
And my riposte is a 5.
Even better. A slash maybe across the cheek or the chest, a thin red line of blood, a wound that he will remember, shall we say.
And he actually bleeds. There's definitely blood coming from him.
There is most certainly real blood, yes. Okay, and then the rest of you may act. So,
I'm
Thomas,
going
first of all.
I'm going to see if I can use a favor to create like a patch of something, just basically cause him to slip, to cause him to lose his footing in his battle with Edward. So
Now, favors you don't roll for. Favors are performed on your behalf by an angel. They're a favor of an angel.
excellent.
So they just happen. But the problem with favors is they tend to be very small and limited in effect. If you're familiar with cantrips in D&D, they're even less effective than those.
Right, okay.
So what basically happens here is, for a brief moment, there is a slippery patch of ice under his feet, and he will make a routine challenge for that rather. I don't know if you can see this, but I did actually roll a 1 there. So he slips. But simultaneously to him slipping, Henry and Beatrice may act.
After you, Henry.
I'm going to look
Ladies first.
look up at the sky and say, "Cheers, B." And also
Don't
going to
get too
call a favor.
familiar.
I also call a favor. I'm going to call the favor of Blister to degrade, hopefully, his weapon to some degree.
Okay, his main weapon is obviously metal. Blister. You probably find it's more effective on his hand or the hilt of the weapon, because you are effectively heating it.
Well, yeah. What I'm thinking of is that if you overheat steel, it can become more brittle.
It's more likely it's going to cause him to drop it, given the effect and the duration of the favor. It's only brief, remember.
Okay,
The actual
fine.
definition of a brief is no more than a moment, not causing a consequence, and no longer than a moment, not causing a consequence, and no more than a hand in size. So the chances are that you are likely to make him. You can make him drop it, perhaps, but that's about it.
Okay, so then I'll go for scold then and do that.
Okay, that's fine. Again, there's a faint crackling hiss from his hand, briefly. Doesn't really have a role to resist that, to be fair, because he's only going to do one thing, which will be to let go of the thing that's hot, like anyone else would. So he'll be dropping his sword. And then last but not least, Beatrice.
I would like to pick up his sword.
You'll have to wait a second while he drops it. This is happening simultaneously, remember. All right, okay. So we begin the next round. Although you could actually try and snatch it out of the air before it hits the ground and do some sort of fantastic flourish with it, if you so wish. I'll give you a physical challenge for that.
Oh, physical?
Yeah.
Can't you do it like intellectually?
3.
Hey.
Supernaturally with my brain.
You catch the sword before it reaches the ground. So, to sum this up, he suddenly has the mark of Edward cut across his chest very quickly, Zorro style. He slips backward, he drops his sword because it's hot, and B snatches it out the air in one deft, coordinated motion of the agents of D. And
It's almost like we're like some like crack unit who've worked together before. It's
Crack unit, did you say that?
yeah, it's disturbing, really, isn't it? Anyway,
I've got worried.
he, after a second, realizing he's been disarmed and he's now staggering back slightly anyway, he drops to his knees and says, "I yield."
Good.
Okay, well that's that then. Bye.
Sweet.
Right, why did you send whatever his name is, Hodgkins, whatever you call him?
Hoskins.
Hoskins? Why did he? One, how did he make himself like that? And why did you send him to get the package from the girl?
The way he looked was his fault. It was the curse he brought upon himself. I merely gave him employment.
What curse? What? How?
He read books, perhaps, that he shouldn't have done.
Unwise. He needs to. Well, he can't be more careful now because he's dead. But
he wasn't terribly well beforehand, I understand.
But you, on the other hand, Sir Flandery, you were in a great deal of trouble.
That is perhaps true.
Why'd you go after the girl?
Oh, she was a maid, but she had very particular access to the wig room and the hair keeping at the Whitehall. It was very simple for me to get a sample of the Queen's hair that they used to match against the wig. It was easy enough.
What were you going to do with it?
Nothing that you would care to hear of or understand, I fear.
I'm going to a bit closer to him, and
I strongly suspect that this is
I'm just going to put the sickle to his throat from behind
I'd
him.
like to put my scissors to his throat as well.
Yeah, the other side.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
Okay, don't run when you put the scissors there. Just gently lean over.
Would you like to repeat your question, Thomas?
What did you want to do with that lock of hair?
I would think it would be fairly obvious even to one such as you, he says.
Would it be a case of, as above, so below, using the law of correspondence to do ill to our great Queen?
Perhaps.
That's a yes.
I think then that my Lord Walsingham and Dee would be interested to have a conversation with you, sir.
I will point out that we were instructed to wreak havoc on said criminal.
I don't feel like we've done much havoc yet.
Yeah.
I'm quite up for it.
So who else?
Quite early.
So before we wreak havoc upon this
That havoc is pending.
Yeah. Before
Tune
we
in next week for havoc.
it's just 2 hours of hurling Elizabethan insults at this man. Who else?
No, stop, I'll tell you everything. Just stop her insulting me.
Who else is part of this? Who else is part of this? Who's part of your little concern trying to work against the realm to upset our great Queen?
Given that he's slightly wriggling on the end of a pair of scissors and a sickle, he admits that it was basically him. And Hoskins is his manservant, although man is probably a debatable term at this stage. In any case, it was his idea to do this. Although the cause driving him, well, there are many that feel the same way, even if they weren't directly associated with it.
I would like to just look him in his eyes and say, May thou suffer fallow fields, may thy mares be barren, and thy tongue be leaden. And then I just want to smack my
I
scissors.
can just see
into his
if this
throat.
was like a cinematic shot, the camera panning away from the building as these insults continue.
And I just want to like push my scissors into his throat.
Before you do that, can we find out this group of people who think the same? Do they have a name? Are they an organisation? Are they?
I
Are
think
they?
you'll find the head of them is in the Vatican, and they run an organisation which is mostly across Europe.
Holy Roman Church.
No, don't be absurd.
So this is
Are you
a
sure it's
Popish
Holy Roman?
plot.
Parts might not be. I mean, you know.
Taking us down the road from Canterbury to Rome.
Partially Roman Church.
Yeah. Partially Roman. Okay.
Scissors in.
Nice.
There is
Fade
one,
black with swears.
there's one other small detail here. You notice that he's obviously moved here with some of his possessions, including a large pile of books. And while you're questioning him, there's a sort of disturbance in the air by the pile of books. And then, as if it's stepping out from the air itself, and at this point you can make another unraveling roll, a shadow takes form in the corner of the room.
Does my clairsentience pick up anything that I might know what it's about?
No, but there are alarm bells ringing in the back of your head. Those of you who make the roll, fine.
Yes.
I think that's a 3, Phil. I couldn't quite read it. I'm assuming it's a 3 because it's a 6-sided die, and an 8 would be bad.
Well,
I
You rolled a 1,
no.
didn't you?
I rolled a 2. I failed as well.
Okay, you can
have
both
to-
drop down a die, and we'll resolve your humours in a minute. Although, to be honest, at this stage in the scenario, it doesn't really matter because we're going to end shortly.
You all go mad.
In any case, the
Zulu.
thing is like a shadow flickering in the corner of the room, and it looks at the pile of books on the desk. At this point, Flandre goes as white as a sheet in terror, and just goes rigid, staring at this.
Friend of yours?
And this thing seems to be in almost the same idle, horrible way that something might regard a person might regard books in a bookshop, as if it's choosing something to read. It casually regards the books on the desk, and then, having not found a book worthy of its attention, and almost as quickly as it appeared, it seems to step back into the shadows and fade. And then Flandre says one word as he looks at you and goes, Bianca. And with that, that is the end of the scenario.
Yay.
That was
There
cool.
you go.
Thank you very much.
We did it.
So that
We caused a havoc, kind of.
That was
ish.
a
vaguely.
that was
mini.
part 3 of Nor Rhyme Nor Reason. Now I will let you into a couple of secrets and reveal pull the curtain back a little bit. You know when you slapped the horse and made it ride off?
Yeah.
I should explain first, actually. The 3 scenarios I've run for the Dee Sanction all happen at the same time with different groups. So they are all happening with the same series of events, or different events, but at the same time. And the group A, if you like them, which is my local group, were actually on the other side of the wall at the cemetery in a leper house at the same time as you were there. And you did that rather well because you slapped the horse and made it gallop off. And I did actually say to them in the first scenario, you hear the sound of a horse galloping away. So I'm rather pleased that worked out very well. Thank you very much. You didn't do what I thought you might do, which is use the wary system a little more. So you wouldn't have seen what happened to Group A on the river, which is a shame. But if you watch the Effekt podcast version of the Dee Sanction game I ran, you will see exactly what happened to the players in Group A on the river, and why you should never stand with one foot in 2 boats. Which is really a bad thing to do under London Bridge at any time of day or night. And as for the group last week, well, you didn't actually go near where they were last time, rather. But again, you can watch that if you so wish and find out what happened to them. So
were they all connected to the same plot, or are they all different plots happening at the same time?
no, each scenario is standalone.
Right.
but they have a meta plot behind all three that connects all three of them together.
That's cool.
And you had a brief hint of that at the very end of the scenario.
Yeah.
So very sadly, the first scenario is not available, I believe, to watch. However,
No,
the
it's on
second one
screen.
is available with the Effekt podcast. That's EFFEKT. That's on YouTube as well. This was the third scenario. Thank you, Andy, for running that. That was great fun.
That was good fun.
It really was brilliant.
The Dee Sanction is available from allrolled-up.co.uk. It's also available at Drive-Thru RPG, although if you want the swanky physical versions, then obviously go to All Rolled Up and purchase it there. There is more information about the game also at the Dee Sanction website, thedesanction.com. Andy, is there a way that people can find you?
I'm at Exius, which is EXEUS on Twitter, and I hang around on the Effekt and Dark Orb Discords, of course, so I'm sure people can track me down if they so wish.
Yeah, we have a Discord, which is you can get to through thedarkorb.co.uk. Effekt Podcast also have a Discord, as Andy has said. And Nick, you don't have too much of a physical presence, although you do appear on the Dark Orb Discord every now and then. Anjali.
Hello.
Hello.
I can
Remind
be
us.
found in all the places
All the
because I am
places.
everywhere. Ooh, spooky.
And you
Everywhere,
use the,
all the time.
everywhere at all times.
Watching
and you're
always.
basically Geek
The
Girl
omnipresent
Bookworm everywhere, right?
Yes, Geek Girl Bookworm everywhere. You can find me on Patreon because I do a podcast called Small Scale Chatter, which is a miniatures community live web show and podcast where I talk to various members of the miniatures community, be it sculptors, artists, painters, small businesses, large businesses, paint makers, about what they're doing and why the miniatures community is so freaking cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we have
And
a
there's always
Patreon
more
for that.
miniature stuff to buy.
Yeah,
I do.
yeah,
I
it's
do
pretty
thoroughly
cool.
enjoy
Come along.
looking at the miniatures you post up on Twitter. I'm like,
Oh,
nice, that's cool.
thanks. Oh, I'm currently doing Spoopy Boys. I think I'll be doing those until I
Spoopy
die.
still doesn't have Spoopy just still sounds wrong to me. And
Spoopy.
Stu, we can find you at Megatron46.
Yep.
Again, also you sometimes show up on Discord. if
Yeah,
people
I
want to
occasionally,
join that,
me and
very
Discord aren't really
occasionally.
friends. I try and use
Yeah,
Discord.
it's
It moves too quick for me. I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's gone.
I'm on
Same. You
Go
go
to
and
sleep, and then you're like,
servers on Discord.
well, I've got 900 missed messages, mostly from
Yeah.
2 people. What's the point?
No, I have
Having a
44
conversation
servers
at
on
2 a.m.
Discord, and 42 of them are on mute. I check into them now and then.
Yeah.
Or 41 of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. And you can find us. We are on Twitter at the Dark Orb. Please, if you enjoyed the show, then subscribe, like, follow, all that. You can also find us on Facebook at the Dark Orb UK.
I had a branded Dark Orb cup to show, and I haven't got it in the room.
Yeah, mine's in the dishwasher. I really planned that well, didn't I?
Yeah.
So we're gonna call this a close again. Check the product out. It's awesome. Thank you to Phil and Paul Baldowski for releasing such a great game.
Yeah, good stuff.
It's
Really
so
enjoyed
cool. We're going to run the credits and then we'll hang around for a couple of minutes to just talk about what we thought of the game. How does that sound?
Sweet.
Okay.
And we're still here. Yeah.
Yay.
I forgot something. I was meant to show this, and you were meant to remind me, Phil. Hang on.
Oh no. Well, we're still live, so show.
That's okay.
people.
Let's just quickly go to this. If I can find it. There you go. That was my outro that I forgot to do.
No. Go now.
Midsummer Night's Dream.
If three shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended. That you have but slumbered here while these visions did appear. And this week an idle theme, no more yielding but a dream. Gentles, do not reprehend. If you pardon, we will mend. So good night unto you all. Give me your hands if we be friends, and the orb shall restore amends.
Yeah, well.
There you
That
go.
was such
I
good
was,
fun.
I was going to show that at the end of the scenario, and I forgot entirely. But there you are.
That's all right. Well, we're still rolling, so
Yeah.
that was great fun. The system's really quite elegant, isn't it?
It's
Nice
player
and simple.
facing.
I do love a simple mechanic.
Yeah.
It's player facing. It's a simple 1 or 2. You fail. There's really nothing really much to say about it more than that. It's a variable sided of dice for different stats. But it's designed, I think Paul designed it really for quick setup at convention. So you literally had 2 or 3 minutes to roll a character, 2 or 3 minutes to learn the rules, and then got on with it. As opposed to something like, say, I don't know, Traveller comes to mind, where you spend 3 days generating a character that then dies in generation and then try it again, by which time the convention's over and you're sitting there on your own. So, I mean, it's designed for quick play, really. That's the whole point of it. And I think he's play tested it at conventions as well.
It's been quite a long and steady play testing, I think.
Yeah, he said something about he'd been doing this for 7 years before he published it. So
it shows.
Yeah.
It's very polished.
Yeah,
So,
the
like
system doesn't get in the way, I think, is what one can do.
Yeah, I hate it when an RPG, like, it's half of it you just spent looking backwards and forwards, like, okay, wait, what's this? Why am I rolling that? What dice am I rolling for that? Oh wait, I've got like 20 feats to put on top of this.
Yeah.
What can I actually do? And you're looking through your character sheet, you're level 1, and you've got 6 sheets of paper.
It took you 2 days to make your character.
Yeah.
And then they die anyway.
Invisible Sun.
Yeah, we've still got that.
That was like a whole day.
Back of our brain.
It was. Yeah, to echo that, it's not. It doesn't get in the way, but I think it still manages to be evocative. Like when that shadow thing appeared, and I thought we were going to have to fight it. I was thinking, oh shit, we haven't got anything. If we're going to do this,
for 11 at night and make you have a long combat with something. But
it's like we're fucked. If this thing comes in, what have we got? We've got
supernatural.
Well, that's true. I mean, Beatrice might attack it with her magic scissors and that mirror. But other than that, I quite like the fact that we're kind of scrabbling around trying to find stuff. But if we come up with anything big, I mean, we're mincemeat, really. I like it. I like that. I like that edge of. I mean,
Well,
that thought that you're not heroes. You're just people
just a bloke.
who just
Bloke,
have fallen into.
Everything could go south quite easily.
Yeah.
And that's the other side of the quick character generation, is that your characters are expendable, really.
Yeah.
But hey, you can roll another one up in 5 minutes. So you know, it's
what I'm confused when you actually create a character. For those of you who haven't done so yet, there's actually a couple of ways to do it. You can do it with dice. Well, you can pick stuff and do it the old-fashioned way, I suppose. You do it with dice, or you can do it with a deck of cards. Now, I've actually got about 7 decks of cards here, and it's definitely better to use a deck of cards. Did I do that? No, I still did it with dice, and I still.
There's a third way.
I don't even
there
have.
There is actually Mr. Garland on Twitter, who will
That's
actually
true.
give you your complete backstory if you tweet him.
That's true. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, because
but
it
he
me
doesn't
sometimes. I don't
allocate
have this
numbers.
Twitter
It's
thing, of which
gives
is
you the
sweet.
story. Mainly because there's a 280 character limit, and by the time he's giving the story, there isn't enough room for the numbers. But anyway,
With that, I think now's a good time. Thank
I
you,
also
everyone.
like these white.
Yeah, these are great as well. We've got
Wipeable character sheets.
aren't they great?
Yeah. Right, let's call this to a close. Thank you, Andy, for running the game for us.
Yes, thanks, Andy. That was good fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay.
Thank you, Stuart. And thank you, Angeli. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please like, subscribe, follow, all that sort of stuff.
Ring
Do the
that
same
bell.
Yeah, exactly. Ring the bell. And also ring Angeli's bell at
Yes, you can ring my bell.
Angeli Anita Ward.
Yeah.
Where can they find you on
The
YouTube?
link tree has got my YouTube channel thing in it and everything. So you can find me in all the places.
All of the places.
All of them. I am there
Every
at
single
them
one.
all.
This has been great fun. I hope to get to the table with you all again here soon. Hopefully, we'll see what's coming up. It was fun. Yes, possibly the labyrinth. We'll see if we can get Angeli to run that.
But you've got to stream that for 13 hours, remember?
Yeah. Just do it over 30 weeks for 1 hour.
13-hour labyrinth marathon, because then we'll have to do it, and I don't have that in me anymore.
No,
Maybe,
I'm too old.
Maybe when I was in my 20s, but that was a long time ago.
You've been in meetings and online for 13 hours today, Phil. Of course you can do it.
I can't do those two things in the same day. It just doesn't add up. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And as always, I hope that your dice rolls are way, 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 way better than mine.
Okay, take care, folks.
Bye.